I'm Christopher Coates, Editor-at-Large of Whisky Magazine. Today we're attending the Kentucky Distillers Association's Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame induction ceremony and luncheon. This year, this prestigious event is being held at the Legacy at Dant Crossing, a beautiful event space just a stone's throw from the Log Still Distillery. I'm joined by Eric Gregory, the president of the Kentucky Distillers Association. It's very, very nice to meet you.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
And before we get into talking about the incredible ceremony in this absolutely phenomenal venue that
Beautiful,
we're in,
isn't it?
I'd like to ask you, for our viewers, a little bit about the Kentucky Distillers Association.
Sure, absolutely.
So what does the KDA do?
Well, we were founded in the 1880s. We're actually one of the oldest trade associations in the United States. We pretend like Prohibition never happened, right? So we are charged with promoting, protecting, and elevating Kentucky's signature bourbon and distilled spirits industry. And that's really kind of a three-legged stool. We obviously do a lot of governmental affairs, fighting against taxes and everything else. We do a lot of technical things, especially helping the new generation of craft distillers get up to speed and come on board. And then we run the Kentucky Bourbon Trail program, which has become a monster tourism program for the state, now over 2 million visitors a year.
Can you tell me about the history of the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. Well, the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame was created by the KDA in 2001, and believe it or not, just a few days after 9/11. You know, there was a lot of discussion of whether or not you even do it that year, but they went ahead and we actually donated proceeds from the event to the Survivors Fund. But it is an event, it's the highest honor our industry gives, and it's given to people or businesses or organizations or families who have made a transformational impact in the Kentucky bourbon industry. So we have legends upon legends in the Hall of Fame, and this is our 21st year. We had to miss 2 years because of COVID, but 21st year, so it's old enough to drink now in the United States, and we've got a great class today, and we couldn't have picked a better, more beautiful day and a more beautiful venue.
You're here today not in your capacity as a master distiller, but in your capacity as a member of the selection committee, the people who choose who is going to be inducted into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. So tell me, how do you make those difficult decisions?
Well, each member company is allowed one nomination per year across 4 different categories: industry, journalists, civic affairs, and government. The most important is the industry tier. And every member must have a written nomination, 3 letters of recommendation, and that comes to the selection committee. And we meet at a nice restaurant, lunch, drinks, and then go over each and every nomination and debate them. And it's all confidential. No one knows what the debate is all about until those individuals that we have decided are worthy are selected.
And as a member of the Hall of Fame yourself, perhaps you can give us some insight on to how does it make somebody feel when they're inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's certainly a moment of pride, and it's real important to some, and to others it's just nice to have. It just depends on your individual outlook, but it's just very nice that you have been recognized by your peers as worthy of inclusion in the hall.
Bourbon represents us. It represents Kentucky. It represents our warm welcome, our rich character. It speaks of our land and it speaks of our people. And we're living through the golden age of bourbon. And you all are leaders that help get us there.
And I believe that by the end of today, there's going to be 110 members, is that right?
I think that's right, 110 members. So we've barely broken the century mark, but and each one distinguished in their own way. You know, each one brings something different to the table.
Fantastic. And you said that the people who get inducted are from very many different parts of the industry. But what do you think they all have in common? What's the secret sauce?
I think it's a passion for Kentucky bourbon, really. I mean, you've got everybody from distillers that are coming in today to public officials like Mayor Greg Fisher in Louisville, former mayor of Louisville, and he coined the phrase bourbonism, which was a merger of bourbon and tourism, and helped revive the historic Whiskey Row. And he obviously has a passion for bourbon to do that. And then you have Dixie Sherman DeMuth, who was a bar owner, a female bar owner back in the 60s and 70s, which was almost unheard of at the time. And she helped tear down the walls legally here in Kentucky where women could actually be bartenders and sit at the bar and order a whiskey. Before she came along, if you're a woman, you couldn't do either one of those things.
Fantastic. And could you tell me a little bit more about some of the other inductees that are coming up today?
Absolutely. Joe Malioco is a great one. Joe is founder and CEO of Michter's Distillery. And you know, that's a very historic brand with over 230 years of distilling history, mostly in Pennsylvania. Dates back to 1753. But when Joe resurrected that brand back in the 90s and he started deciding where to go and look for a distillery, he chose Kentucky. And we're very honored by that. So he's done a tremendous job in resurrecting that brand. You've got Trey Zoller, who's the founder of Jefferson's, another great brand. And then his dad is being inducted today, Chet. Chet actually is involved in the industry more as an author, and he's created what's considered kind of the Bible of distilling history that we all use every day in our work. And they're being inducted as our first father and son in the same class.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, you know, then you've got Judge Executive Dean Watts, former judge here in Nelson County, who has overseen 30 years of expansion and growth here in Nelson of all the distilleries, including the rebirth of Heaven Hill now, adding a new $100 million distillery here in Nelson County. So we also have Pete Kamer, who was actually at Barton Brands for years, one of our bigger distilleries here in Kentucky, but he retired in 2011, and that's when he really started making his mark as being an engineer in his own consulting firm and going around and helping these new craft distilleries really get started, you know, in a safe way. And actually, we're kind of breaking ground here today. This is the first time we've had a nominee from the craft distilling sector here in Kentucky. So that's fantastic. And then Jerry Dalton is kind of one of the unsung heroes behind the scenes. When we lost Booker No, unfortunately, Jerry stepped in at Jim Beam and was the master distiller for years until Fred came along. He did such a great job helping shepherd the Beam small batch collection and the single barrels that were coming out to make them grow what they are today.
I think this industry really is unique in America in particular because we all share information with one another, and I think we all feel a brotherhood, and so to see these guys being inducted today and every one of them has a part in it, I think it's pretty cool.
This is my favorite day of the year, bar none, because it's the one time we get everybody under one roof. And you know, we toast our successes, we celebrate our heroes, we cheer those who have passed on before us, but it's really kind of the industry camaraderie and friendship kind of showing through, and that's what bourbon's all about.
Hi guys, I'm Christopher Coates, Editor-at-Large of Whisky Magazine. This is just a quick message to tell you about a very special competition that we're running with Jura Distillery to celebrate 60 years since it was re-established as an investment in the future of Jura's island community. We're offering you the chance to win a dream whiskey trip for two, and one lucky runner-up will win a bottle of Jura 21 years old. The grand prize includes flights from any UK mainland airport to Glasgow, flights from Glasgow to Islay, and transport on to Jura for two people. Lunch, dinner, bed and breakfast accommodation on Jura for two people for 2 nights, a Jura Distillery tour and a special whiskey tasting for 2 people, plus an island activity for 2. You'll also both get a bottle of Jura 21 years old to take home as well. To enter, simply follow the link to sign up for the Whisky Magazine e-newsletter. The competition closes on the 30th of October 2023, so you better get entering quickly. Good luck!